now you'll have guessed that downhilling isn't as easy as it looks. So for expert advice on the quickest way down, here's another of our top descenders, Nick Craig.
Getting downhill fast is not just about letting go of the brakes. In fact, they're more use than the most trick suspension. What is essential is that you are in control, not the track. Don't grab the bars too tightly. You have to guide your bike, not fight it, and have a couple of fingers covering the brakes. You're bound to need them. Keep the chain on the big ring so that it doesn't bounce off. Keep your weight on the pedals and your bum off the saddle. This way, you can easily move your centre of gravity. You don't get thrown around by the bumps and it's a lot more comfortable. As always, keep an eye on the track ahead to pick the best line. And if there is an obstacle ahead, concentrate on the route you want to take, not the obstacle, or you'll be sure to hit it.
There is also a downhill World Cup, and the first round got underway in the sunshine and 85-degree temperature of Monaco on an extremely rocky and technical course that descended 400 metres off the cliff tops overlooking the Mediterranean in a distance of 3 kilometres. In the women's event, the reigning junior cross-country world champion, Swiss rider Rita Bergi, turned heads as she set the mark with a time of 7 minutes 51 seconds. The 19-year-old's time was comfortably beaten by the German rider Regina Stiefel, who had 11 seconds in hand. But that was nothing compared to the former world champion Giovanna Bonazzi. Bonazzi relished the course, which demanded upper body strength as well as skill in handling the tight hairpin bends. She eventually finished 36 seconds ahead of Stiefel in a time of 7 minutes and 4 seconds. With world champion Julie Furtado not competing in the downhill series and Missy Jovi under suspension from her governing body, the American's honour was left in the hands of Kim Sonnier. Appearing somewhat nervous on her first trip outside the States, she was unable to better Bergi's time and was disappointed with fourth. It was the first time she had failed to make the top three in any major downhill competition she'd entered. In the men's event, it was another junior world champion, French downhiller Nicolas Vouilloz, who set the mark. Vouilloz lives only 20 kilometres from the course and had practised it endlessly in the weeks coming up to the race, so not surprisingly, looked comfortable with all the hairpin bends. In both his runs, he posted the fastest time, gliding effortlessly over the rocky sections that had a number of riders often running, or just often punctured. Vouilloz, who's just 17, eventually won in a time of 6 minutes and 10 seconds. Second place went to the German rider Jürgen Benneker, who on a much improved second run leapfrogged a dozen riders to place himself on the podium. Benneker is only in his second year of mountain biking, but showed his potential when he finished sixth at last year's World Championships in Canada. He obviously goes well on technical courses. His best time of 6 minutes and 16 seconds had him just 3 seconds outside Vouilloz's time, before the young Frenchman's second run. Apart from Benneker and the Italian Stefano Migliorini, who was another 2 seconds behind in third, the event was dominated by the French, who took 4th, 5th and 6th places. Britain's best placed rider was Jason McCroy, who finished 8th despite a crash on his first run and a sketchy second one. For the first time, he beat a number of the top Americans who again had no joy, with only Greg Herbold making the top 10, while world champion Dave Cullinan punctured on most of his practice runs and crashed on his final race run. Fourth went to Frank Roman, who has been one of the two top downhillers in France for a couple of years and posted the fastest time on the qualifying run of the 92 Worlds. But he had no answer to the skills of his young compatriot, who is obviously challenging for his mantle. The final top 5 position went to François Gachet, who was 8th at the 92 Worlds and was yet another who seemed to know the course well. But I can't help feeling they were all missing a great view. Gachet's tumble in the last 500 metres probably cost him a podium spot, as he was just over a second behind Migliorini. Round 2 moved north to Lillehammer in Norway, and though the sun was still shining, the temperature was down by about 20 degrees. It wasn't just the temperature that was different, with a much faster and technically less demanding course, which was likely to suit a different type of rider. There had been rain earlier in the week and the course was drying out, so it was always going to be the second run that decided positions, and in the women's the early target was set by the French rider Sophie Kempf with a time of 6 minutes 42 seconds. Britain's Deb Murrell had placed 6th on the first run and was looking to better it before she lost time by coming out of her cleats on a fast rocky section, and despite holding second for a while had to settle for 8th. Switzerland's Brigitte Kasper, who was 5th in Monaco and beginning to make her mark on the downhill scene, was next to take pole position, but that was bound to be short-lived, with Giovanna Bonazzi the next rider off. Wearing the series leader's white jersey and with local accessories adorning her helmet, she was the fastest through the top half of the course, which was more technically demanding than the bottom flatter section, which required spinning out in the big gears. She comfortably took the lead in a time of 6 minutes 31, but then she had to watch and wait, as last off was Regina Stiefel, who had posted the fastest first round time. Stiefel's superior fitness enabled her to make time on the flatter sections, eventually winning in a time of 6 minutes and 16 seconds. Did this result signal a move from cross-country to downhilling for Regina?
No. I hope I come in 2 weeks. I go to Canada and I hope more for the cross country. It's my discipline. Downhill it's for me. It's fun for me.
Again, as in the women's event, the American riders were missing because of a clash with one of their national racers. So the Europeans were viewing Lillehammer as an opportunity to notch up extra points before crossing the pond for rounds 3 and 4. German rider Jürgen Sprich, who was 15th in Monaco and 10th at the 92 Worlds, took an early lead with a time of 5 minutes 45 seconds that was to remain unbeaten for 8 minutes. That was until round 1's third placing, Stefano Migliorini, came down 2 seconds faster. Next off and moving into the lead was the 1991 world champion Albert Eaton, who, though down on the first half, powered through the flatter sections to finish in a time of 5 minutes 42. But this was again almost immediately beaten by the local Norwegian rider Morten Hjemmetgaard, who, though not a regular on the international scene, showed, as did the French in round 1, the benefits of home advantage, coming through in a time of 5 minutes and 41 seconds. And it was yet another Norwegian, Rune Højdahl, who was 7th in Monaco, who was next to take the top spot before Morten could even contemplate celebrating. Højdahl's time of 5 minutes 35 seconds was 12 seconds faster than the fastest first run, which belonged to Jürgen Benneker. Benneker took air wherever possible and was very smooth through the technical sections, but must have given time to Højdahl, who's also an accomplished cross-country rider, on the pedalling sections, as he finished in a time of 5 minutes 38 seconds, which could only move him up into second. But Hoydal wasn't going to celebrate yet, as he knew Jason McCroy was still due down. McCroy had punctured on the first run, having posted the fastest split time, but he had to pass slower riders who had set off only 30 seconds ahead of him on the final run. In the end, he finished 20th with a time of 6 minutes dead. Benneke's second place was enough to see him move into first place in the series overall, ahead of Hoydal, since the round 1 winner had failed to finish in the top 20. In the women's, the leader's jersey was shared by Benazzi and Stiefel, who next head over to America, where the competition heats up. Next week we're staying at high speed, but this time with cross-country, as the third round of the 7-Up BMBF National Series moves to Aldershot and the fastest course of the year.